What's going on, guys? So we're gonna do a tennis ball warm-up, tennis ball handling, just to get things going. So this is a great way to kind of get your handles warmed up, get them a little bit sharper, quicker, things of that nature. Okay, so really on this first one, what we're going to be working on is decoupling our hands. So being able to do one thing with one hand, tennis ball, and being able to do the other thing with the other hand, which is obviously going to be dribbling, right? So all we're going to do is get into that short wide stance. We're going to dribble that ball low, and then we're going to drop the tennis ball and squeeze it, okay? So you're shooting for speed on this. All you're going to do is drop it, squeeze it as quickly as you possibly can, and you'll start to feel a burn in your forearms and your fingers. And then on top of that, as far as decoupling goes, if you have a coupling issue to where one hand loves to copy the other, you'll see, if you're dribbling the ball, you'll try and do the same thing at the same time, right? And so really we want to break that, separate our brain, and be able to do one thing different on the other side, okay? So all you're going to do is dribble the ball low, and you're going to shoot for speed here with the tennis ball. And it should look completely different if you pause the video and you look at both hands. It should look different, right? Obviously you're going to switch hands. So you got here on this side. You're going to work both hands, okay? So you can't do that low. You can raise the height of your dribble if you want to do that. But it's a really good decoupling drill. Really good eye and hand coordination, obviously. And it's a good way to kind of warm up your hands, warm up your handle. So the next tennis ball drill we're going to do is we're going to do hot potato. Alrighty, so all you're going to do is have that ball at about knee height, right? You're going to toss the tennis ball underhand. You're going to catch it or snatch it overhand, okay? So you're going to come over the top and snatch it. So if you think about a game situation, if you were to go and try and drive, you're not going to have your palm up to where you're trying to drive this way and beat the defender. You're always going to be over engaging with that hand, so you have that nice strong arm bar, right? Or if you wanted to swim over that defender's hand to kind of get your way through, that arm and that palm is going to be down, right? So when you snatch that ball, you're always going to go over the top, okay? So you're just kind of replicating that moment in the game. And then obviously you're shooting for speed, decoupling your hands, a lot of nice benefits to this one. So ball is going to be knee height, right? Shooting for speed. Right, in both hands. Once again, you're just going to wear you out a little bit. When you're shooting for speed, you're really pushing yourself. You'll start to see yourself make more mistakes the more you push yourself out of your comfort zone. So really shoot for speed when you're going and you're snatching that tennis ball with aggression, okay? Okay, so another one we're going to do is we're going to bounce the tennis ball, same time as our basketball. We're going to tap it up, right? Once you tap it up, you're going to snatch it over the top, okay? So while all that is going on, right, you're going to float that basketball, so you're going to hang it a little bit. Fingers will turn to the side. So if you pause in that moment in time, if that ball falls, that lets you know that you're not carrying the ball, okay? If that ball sticks and stays, that means your palm is up. That means you're carrying the ball, okay? So in that time where you're tapping and snatching, you're floating the ball, okay? And notice I don't dribble the ball again until I snatch that tennis ball, okay? So you're working both hands again, obviously. Always want to make sure you have a nice wide base. Your knees are bent, almost like a defensive stance, right? And then you got tennis ball bounce, tap, and then you have your snatch over the top, okay? So here, float, and turn that ball over to get into your pound, okay? So here, it's completely okay to look down. You're not gonna build a bad habit by looking down or looking at the tennis ball. At the end of the day, this is your focus anyways. It's taking your focus away from the basketball, right? So like I said, work both hands. Make sure you tap that ball up. And you're not snatching it until that tennis ball is on its way down. Okay, so that's a really good way to add a distraction, really good way to add something else to do with your offhand, and then of course floating the basketball. It's great accountability for learning how to float the basketball. So if that ball comes down before you snatch the tennis ball over the top, that means you're not able to float the ball as long as you may need to, okay? So really good way to kind of help you with your float as far as your dribble goes. And like I said, just work both sides, do it for a certain amount of time, 5 minutes each side, however you want to work it, and just have fun with that one. All right, so the next one we got is same thing. We got tap ups, but we're gonna add a crossover to it. All right, so whenever you add options to things, whether it be footwork, whether it be ball handling, whatever it may be, you always wanna make sure that you maintain the order of what you're doing, okay? So right now, we have a bounce, we have a tap up, we have a snatch. Well, right now we have a bounce, we have a tap up, then we have a cross, and then we have a snatch. Okay, so really you got bounce, tap, cross, and then you're gonna snatch that tennis ball while it's still in the air. Now if you can't get it quick enough to snatch it while it's in the air off of that one tap up, you can let it bounce and then snatch it off of that one bounce. But I really encourage you to try getting it off of that first tap up and snatching it off of that instead of letting it bounce one time and then snatching it, okay? So you got bounce, tap, cross, and then snatch, okay? So another way of holding yourself accountable as far as patience goes, floating the ball, you can't wait for that tennis ball to come down off of the tap up and then cross and snatch. So that'll really push your crossover, really push your hands. On top of that, changing pace with everything. So if I go tap, cross, that thing's on its way down. And then you can go ahead and snatch it, right? So while it's on its way down, you can cross quick, and then snatch the ball, right? And you can work that. Now obviously it's gonna get messy sometimes, especially if you haven't done it before. It's all good, just run, get it back, restart, push through the frustration, push through the mistakes, and enjoy the process of learning something new, okay? So you got your bounce, tap up, cross, and then you're gonna snatch. All right, so all we're gonna do is kind of mix up the exchanges on this. So we're gonna go throughs, and then we'll also do behind. So you can focus on just one thing at a time. You can do crosses for 5 minutes, then you can go on throughs, then you can go behinds if you want to, or you can mix it up. Right? You can go cross, through, then behind, right? And then you can mix up the exchanges, after each specific rep. You can do that as well. All right, so on this, I'll show you the throughs and behinds, and you can do either one of those by themselves, or you can put them all together and mix up the exchanges, okay? So same thing, you got your tap up, and then your throughs. So bounce, tap up, through, and then snatch, right? Bounce, tap up, through, snatch. Bounce, tap up, through, snatch. You can do the same thing as far as waiting for that ball to come down, and then snatching the tennis ball, right? Now you got behind, same thing. Reset if you mess up. Right? So like I said, you can mix up the exchanges if you want to, but just have fun with that. You got your crosses, your throughs, and your behinds, okay? And then if you want to add a little bit more accountability, like I said, wait for that ball to start coming down, and then hit that exchange, whether it be through or behind or whatever it may be, and then snatch that tennis ball with aggression, okay? All right, so last one to really test your handles, push yourself a little bit, is going to be a split through with a tap up, and then we're gonna have a second split through to snatch, okay? So your split through is basically gonna be your inside foot forward, your outside foot back, right? So ball side is your outside, and we're gonna split our feet. Ball is gonna hit the same time as our feet going through, okay? So there's your split through going that way, same thing going the other way. Inside foot forward, outside foot back, okay? Now if you have a mat, great. If you don't, just really trying to make sure that you have those short and wide stances on your splits. Really make sure that your feet are actually splitting and they're not barely moving or sticking to the floor even. I see a lot of players, their feet stick to the floor. And so really make sure that you split your feet and they're actually traveling somewhere, right? They're going from that front part of the mat to that back part, or they're at least getting outside of your frame, okay? And so that first split through, you have off the bounce, you have your tap up, okay? Second one, you have your snatch, all right? So it's gonna look like this. Here, mess up, just keep going, right? The second one, you have your snatch. Might take a couple of reps to get used to it, but once you get the hang of it, then it gets easier, right? And so, like I said, just push through the mistakes, push through the frustration. As you start to rep it out, your body will figure it out. Your brain will kind of figure out how to register these things a little bit better, and you'll see yourself start to progressively get it, and then eventually, obviously, you'll be able to master it. So it's a really good way to push your feet, push your hands, and really test your handle.